Hello art beaders! We've got a brand new video for you today and we're going to be talking about bead embroidery. In our last bead embroidery video, I showed you how to do a two-seed bead backstitch, and we're going to continue the bead embroidery lessons today with a look at how to do a brick stitch edge. This is how you're going to finish the edges of your bead embroidered piece after you've done all the pretty bead embroidery on the surface. So let's dive right in and take a look at how to make a beaded brick stitch edge on your bead embroidery. Okay, so I've got 2 rows of two-seed bead backstitch done around my focal bead, and this is where I'm going to start to do the brick stitch edge around my focal. So first what you're going to do is you're going to cut your bead backing close to the edge of your beads, and you don't want to cut any of those threads that have your beads stitched in place, but you're going to cut it close enough around the edge of your beads so you've got a nice shape to your piece. So I'm just going to cut this bead backing. And again, you want it close, but don't cut your threads. And bigger beads usually help with that. Kind of give a buffer between the scissors and the threads. There, looks great. You're also going to want to cut a piece of backing fabric to the size of the back of your piece, and that will be, you're going to glue it on, but then you're also going to stitch through it as you create your brick stitch edge, and that'll give you a nice looking back for your piece, because you don't want to see all these threads on the back of your finished piece. I've got my glue on the back of my piece. You can use something like gem tack or a nice E6000, something that's made to work with fabric and something that's really strong and durable. And then I'm just going to attach my fabric to the back, and then I'll allow that to dry, and then I will cut it to size. All right, so we've got our backing added for a nice finished edge, and we've got our thread coming up just below that last row of beads in the two-seed bead brick stitch. So we are going to add a seed bead to start our brick stitch edge. I'm working with these really beautiful A-dot seed beads. I think that gold color is going to pick up on the gold in the center of the flowers nicely. So you just add one bead here. And then you're going to bring the needle to the back side of the bezel and pierce through both pieces of backing and come up next to the bead that you just strung. Like that. After you've pulled the thread tight, you're going to bring the needle back through this first seed bead. Now, this seed bead may not sit correctly until you have finished the edging, so don't worry if it's a little crooked for now. All right, so now we're going to add another seed bead to our needle. And then you're going to, bring this down. Then you're going to come up through the back of your piece and pierce both pieces of backing, and then the amount of space between the stitches where you're going to pierce shouldn't be any wider than the beads being used. So I'm going to pierce like right there. Whoops. Got another bead added there. The needle through the bead you just added, and this should start to kind of line up your beads a little bit nicer. Again, that first one might be in a weird position until you get your beaded edge all the way around, and then you can kind of straighten it up at the end. So now you're just going to keep repeating that for the entirety of the edge. So we're adding a bead, and then piercing through the back side of both backings, no wider than the width of the bead we're adding. And then coming up through that bead. And so you can see where this little thread bridge is. You're gonna wanna come up through the bottom of the bead, so the opposite end of where the thread bridge is. And that's gonna get your bead to lay correctly next to the other one. All right, and then you just keep going. So I'm adding a bead, piercing from the back of the bead embroidered piece through both layers of the bead backing and the fabric I glued, stitching no wider than the bead I'm adding, pulling that thread tight. And I kind of like line up the bead with my finger, and that makes it easier to know which direction to bring my needle back through the bead and line it up again. And you can see that it adds kind of a fun little gold color to the edge of your piece. So I'm just going to continue that all the way around. You might want to also, I was using this blue color thread because that matched the color of the beads here. If you have different colors of thread, you might want to change your thread color here if you're using different color beads like I am. A nice gold colored thread would look really good here with this fabric, but this blue one works too. And again, it just makes a really nice clean edge on the edge of your piece and on the back. The back's going to look so good when this is all done. So I thought I'd show you as I'm starting to turn the corner here. You just keep going with the technique, just match the shape, the direction of the piece. So I've added my next bead here, and I'm just going to pierce both pieces of backing and then go from the back. You're always going to pierce from the back and then go through, pull tight, and then go back through the bead on the underside, the opposite side of where the thread bridge is. That's really important. And so you can see that it's starting to turn the corner. So this is a really easy stitch for the different kind of shapes that you'll make with your bead embroidery pieces. I've got a rectangular focal, so I've got more square corners, but there's a lot of round cabochons that you can bead embroider around. It's really easy to follow any shape with the two-seed bead back stitch as I showed in the last video, and with this brick stitch edge. And it's such a nice way to finish a piece. I mean, it's such a cleaner, better, more intricate look to have those beads lining the edge than just a raw edge. So really, really nice way to complete your bead embroidery projects. Maybe add another pop of color, a little more shine like these. These really bring out that gold in the center of the piece. So really fun technique. As you can see, it goes by pretty quickly. It's pretty easy to do. There's just a couple key things you got to remember. You got to remember to always pierce the backing from the back. It seems like you should pierce the front because you're kind of at the front of the piece, but no, you pierce from the back, and then when you go back through the bead after pulling tight, you come back through the bead on the underside, the opposite side of the thread bridge. So that's all you got to remember to do this beaded brick stitch edge, and then you'll have a beautiful finished piece like this one. And I added a picot edge, and we will talk about that the next time we have a bead embroidery 101 video, so stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know what you want to see next. If you have any questions or if you enjoyed the video, please just leave a like and a comment. It's always great hearing from you guys. And as always, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you're the first to know when videos like this are out. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.